We're gonna kind of rewind back to the beginning, and this is about finding out how and why and everything, the background of Migrant and why we exist. And to do that is my friend and coworker, and she has over 10 years of experience in the Migrant program. So she's our experienced red, with Ashley and I both being, under 3 years new. So anyway, so to introduce her, what does a what happens to a banana in the sun? It peels, just like Miss Loranda Clay.
Thank you so much, Heidi, for that wonderful introduction. Oh, we prompted her to do the joke. So at this point in the day, we're all tired and full and trying not to snore. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. But we just want to talk a little bit for those of you who are new in the program or who may be tuning in from across the state that may not be that familiar with Migrant, of what Migrant is and how we're broken down across the state. So let's see if I can figure out how to do this. Oh, it took my check mark off. Okay, so first thing we want to talk about is that we are the Migrant Education Program here in Arkansas. It is a Title I Part C, part of the ESEA, and a lot of times you may hear MEP, and that's just short for Migrant Education Program. So that's the first acronym of the Migrant Program is what it's called, and that's the MEP. So before we go into the presentation, there's a short video I wanted to show for you guys, if we can get it to work.
My job is to make college easier because students have a lot on their
Sorry, Coach.
plates. Like Harper, an econ major who piles on the pressure. Grammarly can help.
No.
Arkansas Migrant Education Program. What is the Migrant Education Program? Arkansas Migrant Education Program is a federally funded program that provides services to children and families who migrate seeking temporary or seasonal work in the agriculture and fishing industries. Migrant education is funded through Title I Part C. Who is eligible for the program? A child aged 0 to 22 entitled to a free public education, having not yet received a high school diploma or GED, and has moved to do the work themselves, or has moved with or to join the migratory agriculture worker, such as the parent or guardian. For more information on eligibility, please contact the migrant specialist in your region. What is the difference in a migrant versus an immigrant? A migratory child is a child who has moved with or to join the migratory agriculture worker or to do the work themselves. An immigrant is a person who comes to a country to take up permanent residence. What services does the program provide? This program provides services that are instructional and support services that directly benefit a migrant child, address a need of a migrant child, are grounded in scientifically based research, and enable the program to meet its measurable outcomes. Supplemental instructional services are provided in the areas of math and literacy, in-home preschool and school readiness, career education, and credit recovery. Supportive services include basic health services, parental involvement, advocacy, and social outreach. Special projects. Arkansas Migrant Education Student Leadership Academy. One of the main goals is for students to acquire leadership and teamwork skills and experiences with the intention of positively affecting Arkansas's migrant dropout rate and building positive role models. Moving Up Arkansas. MUA is one of the most beneficial programs offered to migrant high school students. It provides an opportunity for migrant students to acquire credits needed to graduate. Credit recovery. Arkansas MEP also offers a year-round credit recovery program for eligible migrant students through one of our approved digital providers. For more information, please contact the migrant specialist in your region.
Riley.
Thank you to Holly and Rebecca for the work on that video. It's really good. So when it comes to migrant education, we're talking about the ESEA of 1965, which was when the act was actually put in place and the program was built for those families who move and those children never were able to finish school or were started school late or had to leave school early, and we were finding that they were falling more and more behind. So the federal government enacted the ESEA of 1965. And then the latest version, of course, is the amended version from 2015, which is ESSA. And we have the laws, the regulations, and here in the state of Arkansas, we follow the non-regulatory guidance from the Office of Migrant Education. And so that is what's in your handbook for the portion of IDNR. Everyone who is in the migrant program should have a handbook. And that's where all those Q&As come from and what the answers are on how to recruit families. And it comes directly from the non-regulatory guidance. So when we talk about what a migrant child is, of course, we know that there are certain criteria they have to meet. A migrant child has to be 0 to 21 years of age, not have completed school. They must be eligible for free public education, and they have to make a qualifying move that's happened within the previous 36 months of the eligibility interview date. So when you're talking to that family, you can look 36 months back into their history to see if they qualify. And then of course they have to move as the worker or with or to join a migratory agricultural worker. And in the state of Arkansas, we call that a MAW, a migratory agricultural worker. That also includes migratory fishers. So just know, if we say MAW or migratory agricultural worker, we're including those fishing people too. But there's not very many fisheries or people who do fishing work in Arkansas. However, families move from all across the country and they may have done fishing work elsewhere. So it's always good to know that that's kind of an interchangeable acronym we use. So what is a migratory agricultural worker or fisher? It's someone who in the preceding 36 months made a qualifying move across school district lines. That move was a change in residence. It was also for economic necessity. And then the worker must have performed seasonal or temporary work in agriculture or fishing. And when we say move across school district lines, it's important to know that the move was made across school district lines. Something we're finding lately, especially with COVID, is families move from Florida to California and they stay enrolled in that California school because they can go virtual. And then they come back to Florida 3 months later and they're like, well, we never dropped them. They're still enrolled at our school. We can't qualify them. Wrong. We're going to sign them up, right? If they're in Arkansas, because if they move to Arkansas, they cross school district lines. I don't care what the enrollment says in the school district. Okay. So it's always important to make sure that they're making that move. The move is what qualifies, not if they're enrolled in your district or not. Okay. That's been an interesting caveat that's come into play lately. The next thing I wanted to talk about was immigrant versus migrant. And when most people think immigrant, of course, they think of someone who moves to the U.S. from a foreign country. They may be documented immigrants who have moved in this country legally. They may be, anyway, I'm blank. They may be coming on asylum or as refugees, or they may have come legally through the system, or they may be undocumented, which means that they entered the country illegally or that they overstayed their visa to be here. So when we talk about immigrants, that's a whole separate ballgame from the migrant education program. A migrant, as Holly explained in the video, is someone who migrates to do work in agriculture or fishing industries. That's the people we focus on. And it doesn't really matter to us whether someone's an immigrant or not. There's lots of migrants who are not immigrants, and there's lots of immigrants who are not migrants. It just depends on what type of work they're doing. So that's what we want to talk about today, is those migratory families. So after we've identified who are the migrant children and who are the migrant workers, then we need to look at what can we do once we start serving them and we've identified them. And so according to the federal law, because we're getting federal money, right, the districts need to know and the cooperatives need to know that anything that the district does comes first. So any money anything that's offered to kids across the school board, across school, throughout everybody in the district or everyone in the cooperative, if that's something that's offered to all kids, then you can't spend migrant money on a portion of those kids. Any other Title I program that's available through any other federal funds that comes through the school district, that's first before migrant funds can be used. Any school clubs or anything like that that's going on that's offered to everyone. Then the next level you would go to is, okay, it's not something that the district offers. What else is available in our community? Are they eligible for WIC? Are they eligible for our kids and have their health services provided that way? Do they participate in stuff the bus at your school district, or the school is providing school supplies through some grant money, which that's been a lot of things that have taken place with COVID. So anything like that has to happen first before we can spend any migrant money. So looking at this Sunday, the migrant program is always going to be the cherry or the sprinkles on the very tippy top. So that's going to be anything above and beyond. We're the last resort where we need to be spending money. And it's very important that everyone in here understand that, because if we're spending migrant money on something that should be paid for by the district through other programs or through other federal programs, it's considered supplanting and it's illegal on a federal level. So I don't like to go to jail. I don't want to go to jail, and I certainly don't want to go to federal prison. And I don't think anyone else in here does either. So if you have a question about what you can spend money on, get with your district personnel, your bookkeeper, or reach out to your specialist in your area, and they will help you try to figure out what you can and can't do. Any questions on that so far? Any questions in the chat? This is some pretty basic stuff, but so how do we identify those kids in your district? The way that we do that is called the employment survey, or we call them a survey, or it's the green survey, or whatever color it is in your district. Agricultural survey. The current survey that we should have in our districts should say employment survey. It's the latest version that we have. So we want to make sure that every student in your district receives the survey form. It's very important because migratory workers do a lot of migratory work in agriculture during the summer months. So they're not doing that work maybe year round, but they may be going when the kids get out of school, go do the work and come back, or move from place to place. And we want to make sure that we're surveying every kid every year. It's very important, because just because they're enrolled in the district doesn't mean that they haven't made a migratory move. So we want to always make sure that we've got a current survey and that everyone gets that. And if they come back to your school office, make sure that they give them all to you, the yeses and the nos, because we have to prove that it was offered to everyone in your district. And we have to keep those for 3 years plus the current year, or 3 years total, 2 years plus the current year. So you got to hang on to those surveys. Now we're going to talk a little bit about how the program's broken down across the state of Arkansas. At the state office, we have 2 people there that take care of the things and make sure we've got the money and we spend the money properly and it's dispersed out properly. And that's Damaris Thomason. She's our program director. She's hiding in the corner over here. And then Rebecca Morin, she is our migrant program advisor. So she does lots of those special projects. Yeah, sorry. I'd have something on there. That's okay. But these two ladies are like the top of the program in Arkansas. And so they're making sure that we don't misspend that money. And Damaris certainly doesn't want to go to federal prison. So she's going to be a stickler about what you can and can't do, because she says she don't look good in stripes either. If she does, she wants vertical stripes. She doesn't want horizontal stripes. So those two ladies take care of us at the state level. And then next, we know that this was in the video too, and that's the breakdown of how everyone's sorted out across the state and how we're broken down. There are 6 migrant regions, but there are a lot more educational cooperatives in the state of Arkansas than just these 6 regions. So in each of those colored boxes, there's multiple cooperatives. So your specialists and your reds and your recruiters in those areas that aren't actually at your district, they cover a lot of territory. So I just want to show you guys this, and each region has several project schools there. Some have more than others, but let's say region 1. If you're from region 1 and you know you're from region 1, can you raise your hand or holler out in the chat and let us know what district you're from? Holler out what district. All right, I heard Springdale and the co-op,
Rogers, Rogers,
Berryville, Springdale, Fayetteville. All right, Salem Springs. So we've got people all up in that northwest part. And you guys, I know you will be getting together with your co-op specialist at some point. And she is new. We're excited to have her. Bridget, what's her first name? Russell. I'm sorry, Bridget. She's in the house today. Bridget Russell. I should have had it wrote down, Bridget. I'm sorry. Welcome to the family. You're welcome. Awesome. Next, we have Region 3. We'll go ahead and do that because that's just south of the Northwest Territory. And that's actually in Guy Fenter Cooperative in Branch. So any Guy Fenter folks out and about? We've got a few in the house. I know we've got several online. Clarksville, they're online. They're working virtual. Fort Smith, Russellville. Who else is in the house? Dardanelle. Okay, so there's, you know who you are and where you belong, but that's in that yellow region on the map. It's just south of Northwest. And both of those regions, you have Ashley Hewlin, she's the reds for that area. And the Region 3 specialist is Miss Bliss Huff. And then next we're going to move on to the northeast part of the state, and that is actually that's Heidi's area. She's the reds for actually Region 2 and Region 4. And in Region 2, it's a pretty big area as well. That's Crowley's Ridge and Michelle McBride. She's the specialist over there. Who are those Crowley's Ridge people? They come a long way too, right? Where are we from? Batesville, Paragould, Newport, Pocahontas, Batesville, Nettleton. Okay. And then we have Region 4, and there are those, they're proud in the house today. And so, who's in Region 4?
Karen.
Karen is the specialist there, Karen Fuller.
Got some hands. Y'all out here
Cersei. Pine Bluff. Robin. Robin Pratt. She's got a long list. Cersei. Bald Knob. Forest City. Riverview. Okay, so all those folks in green, get to know them. They're the ones over there on the middle section of the state, of the country. And I haven't given a shout out to all these recruiters that cover the non-projects, but Heidi alone in regions 2 and 4 has 98 school districts that are not projects. So that's a lot of people that we have to keep up with, and kids kind of scattered around. And those recruiters that work in those non-project areas all over the state do an amazing job of tracking down kids, and they may not be able to follow up with them and see what happens to them like some of you tutors and clerks get to do, but they still play an important role as well. And then I'm the reds for the south half of the state, the blue and that peachy pinky color. And on the southwest side, I've got Holly Boyette. She's the specialist in that area. And we have 5 projects. Who was at Southwest? We've got DeQueen in the house, Center Point in the house, Naspa's in the house. Yeah. All right. And then the last, but certainly not least, are our Southeast bunch. And they're located in Monticello. Woo! And they've got, who's from Southeast? Tell us where you're at. We've got Hermitage, Star City, Hamburg, Warren, Dumas. Selena is her own person, even though she's Claire's daughter. She is her own person. She's the boss, in case you guys are wondering. Okay, I know this is kind of silly, but I just wanted you guys. Dumas, yes, okay, Dumas. And Dumas virtual as well. So I just want to take a brief moment, let us kind of have a little fun and get to know each other a little more. So if you want to know where those wonderful pink tomatoes are, you need to find Letitia. She knows where they're at in Warren. If you want to go camping up in the Ozarks, who do you need to contact? Those ladies in that region 3, right? Peaches are in Cersei. Get to know people this week and get to make those contacts. That's what this training's all about. Okay, so I'm going to briefly look at some folks in each region. We've got Heather. She is the student support specialist there in Northwest. And then we've got Robbie. She's one of our co-op recruiters. And in this pic, they were dropping off some school supplies to some kids. And then region 2, little highlights here. We got Crowley's Ridge and Harrisburg. And that's in Michelle's area. And these kids were having some summer school. And they were having a big time. They got to go do some homesteading and see about how we used to live back in the day. Might be useful, you never know. And then region 3, of course, has got Venture and Branch, and these are some of the beautiful faces there. We're having a party one day. Sheila Peck retired from region 3. Region 4 is Wilbur Mills and BB. And this was at one of their day outs for one of their MSAC meetings. So they got to visit a local college in that area with some of the kids. In region 5, D. Queen Mina, we are actually housed in Hope, but we cover all the area. And this was just a pic of Darla doing some storytelling at one of the local school districts. And then some of us doing some professional development from the D. Queen ladies. And then region 6 is Southeast and Monticello. And of course, they do a great job of doing summer school. And they also are a little unique in that they have what they do OSY night school for those guys who work in the field all day. They may be picking watermelons or tomatoes or you name it. Hard, heavy work all day. And then they'll come and gather up and take English lessons at night. So they do an excellent job doing that. So kudos to all those people. So any questions so far about migrant and how we're kind of broken down in Arkansas? If you're new and we're talking about migrant children and how they qualify and who the migratory workers are, don't worry. We're going to give you a lot more information on that. Tomorrow, you're going to have a session with Loopy. And Loopy, again, she is from Escort, and that's not anything nasty. Escort.org if you're looking, not .com. You may find something you don't want to find. But they are part of the Eastern Stream, and they do a lot of training across the country, but they mainly focus on that Eastern Stream of traffic of migratory families moving up and down from Florida all the way up into New York and Pennsylvania and doing seasonal work up in that direction. So they do an excellent job as they're a resource for us for training. And so she is very knowledgeable and she'll be able to work with us to get you guys up to speed. So our goals in Migrant are what your goals are at your districts, what your district superintendent's goals are, or what the state of Arkansas's goals are. And that's to make sure that each of our migratory children meet the challenging state academic standards in both math and literacy and in high school graduation. We want all those students to graduate on time. If they're not going to graduate on time and they're behind, we want to catch them up and we want them to all be successful. So why do we do what we do? For these kids, these students. And the big paycheck. Yes, that paycheck makes it all worth it. It's got to be for the love of these students, right? And these are just a few of our success stories. As you see right here, this is Heidi and her daughter. She was a member of the migrant program when she was in high school. They qualified when Heidi and them first moved here. So kudos to her. We got to see her graduate. And then Ashley, before she worked as the Reds, she was also an advocate in our non-project schools. And these are some of the kids that graduated high school when she was there. So, any questions about Migrant? Where we come from, what we do here in Arkansas? If you have questions, maybe we'll fill you in tomorrow. If not, maybe Friday will be your lucky day. And if that still isn't enough to answer all your questions, please make sure you have your Red's phone number and your specialist phone number because we're here for you. And every phone call that I get in my office starts out with, I'm sorry to bother you, but there's no sorry to bother me. That's my job, is to answer your call. Now, you may not get me when you call, but if I answer, I'm going to try to get you an answer to your question. And I would say that about anyone else in this room in leadership that works in the program, that we're here to answer your questions. No question is a stupid question. And if it is a stupid question, we promise not to make a face. Okay. All right. Thank you guys for being here. I know it's been different this past year through COVID, and I know you were excited to be able to actually show up in person, and we're thankful for you being here. Be sure to check your agenda for tomorrow about what room to be in, or make sure you guys have your links at home, and we'll see you. Does anyone have any questions? You got questions in the chat? No questions in the chat? We start at 9 a.m. Right and early. New people will be in room 203. Everyone else will be in here. If you have questions on what you want to talk about tomorrow and you think about something tonight, write it down, jot it down. You can ask us when you get here. You're dismissed. Just